Do you know music and moments in time? Well, that one takes me to a house in Gold Street in Rose in Cardiff 32 years ago in like a pink carpeted accommodation where we used to live, and we got this album out, the gatefold double album out, and whacked it on and put it on like 11 and listened, and it just sounded so cool. Nicky Wyatt. And then I'm listening to it now, Nicky, and those drums. Tell us about the drum sounds we just heard there. Welcome, by the way.
Hi, yeah, nice to be here. Yeah, Steve Brown, who had produced Club Tropicana. The late Steve Brown is a lovely guy. He did Wham's Club Tropicana, he did She Sells Sanctuary, and we fused those two drum sounds together.
It was so different to what was happening at the time.
It was, you had baggy and you had the sort of start of grunge, and it just felt... We were completely out of place, to be honest with you.
Did you always feel that? Because at the time, from my perspective, there were a lot of Welsh bands starting to really engage, and there was the Gorkies, Icodic Monkeys, Super Furries, as ourselves. There was this sort of kind of movement that people were really happy to try and club together.
Yes.
But did you feel like you were just on your own with your momentum?
I think we were the kind of outcasts, because we were from deep in the South Wales valleys, and we were probably much more enthralled with rock music than anyone, than the other bands. I think the other bands were just cooler than us. We were much more glam. That's not to say we didn't like them all, mind. We absolutely did. The Furries and yourselves, we were just. It was great to see so much. Just exciting music and attitude coming from Wales. So, but I think our path was always a lone one.
I always felt we were all kind of misfits,
Yeah.
and doing our own thing as well. But listen, you came out of the gates and you had tremendous energy. That's what I remember. Yeah. And you wanted to change the world. There was no compromise.
No, I think we had blind ambition. Perhaps that's what the slight difference with us as well. Probably delusion rather than reality. But we were just obsessed with... We was always obsessed with communication. Me and Richie, when we were in uni together, we would always referring back historically, not just musically, but for ways of communication to as many people as possible. So,
because you studied politics, didn't you?
We did, yeah. And Richie did history, and we'd be writing our mini manifestos.
Yeah.
But they were fun times as well. We weren't like po-faced students at all. We kind of knew there was a fabulous disaster, a Sex Pistolian element to it all.
Did you write together with Richie in the same room? How did it work, the sort of sharing?
It's one of the real pleasures of my life, and, such a unique thing to sit at the desk and swap lines. I know people swap riffs or they jam, but we were kind of riffing on lyrics. And sometimes we'd write alone, especially as we progress. But those early days in Swansea and Hendra and King Edward's Row, I think Richie lived.
Yeah. Can you take us back to say some of your pivotal sort of colossal, your sort of cornerstones of who, because we're going to play some Smiths coming up. You've also got some Anne Sexton lined up to play. But at the time we're talking about with Richie, who were your cornerstones for writers, for inspiration? Who was Richie's, if you can remember? Because it's like 32 years ago now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for me, I would say Philip Larkin. I'd had a big... Probably passed on through Morrissey, that kind of...
Throwaway wit and sharpness.
Yes, the sharpness. And I think Richie was just devouring books at such a huge scale compared to me, historical books, or Bret Easton Ellis, or Linton Kwesi Johnson. He was really into poetry-wise, just tons of stuff. It was really hard to keep up with him, I'll be honest with you. But I think mine, I got so many, the track Cemetery Gates, obviously in that Morrissey mentions Keats, Yeats and Wilde in one song. Yeah. So obviously... Did
you go looking for them then?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's what I did with Dylan's songs. Like, whoever he mentioned, who's that? And you go off and you go down these rabbit holes,
absolutely. Right? And the Clash, with Allen Ginsberg rapping on a song. Yeah. So that got you into beat poetry straight away. So Richie would physically write a lot more than me. He just was always writing. I was probably a bit more restrained.
Let's hear the Smiths. We'll talk more after this. My guest this week is Nicky Wyatt, just enjoying the bass there. And I didn't realise bass wasn't your first instrument, Nicky, was it?
No, it was guitar. I was a rhythm guitarist at the first gig. We had a bass player called Flicker who only
What was his name?
Flicker, and he refused to use 4 strings. He would only use 2 strings. So he took 2 strings off his guitar, off his bass guitar. But it just,
Is that why you kicked him out?
Well, he wasn't.
Poor Flicker, is he still around?
Our values didn't align anymore. I think I was the tall one, and all my favourite bass players at that point seemed to be low-slung bass players, quite tall with decent cheekbones. So James just put it on me and said, "This is for you." So
that's funny.
I was more than happy.
Happened to Paul McCartney too.
Yeah.
You were in good
He
company.
can play anything, can't he?
Was it quite unusual then, to take you right back, to be reading all these books, to be, as you were quite famously, wearing, dresses to the pubs, to your local pubs and stuff? I mean, you must be famous before you hit, fame internationally, famous in your own hood.
There was I guess a slight bit of infamy, shall we say, rather than being famous. There was, we all walked, when we walked around together, you could tell that we were being looked at, and we had, we'd go up the Red Line in Blackwood and end up running home some nights, fair to be said. Was there a band or an artist that you were all kind of channeling? Yeah, I think that the main inspiration was the kind of look of the Clash and the sort of the seditionary element of the Sex Pistols. I think they were the two that they allowed us to have a template of all the other music we liked, which was James with Early Simple Minds, or Magazine, or Joy Division, we all loved, but we knew we couldn't quite pull that off. And that we saw the Clash doing Garage Band on an old. It was an anniversary for punk, and we just thought that's our initial phase. That's what we wanted to be, really. We got an idea of the hunger that you had for reading, yourself and Richie, and the writing. Roll on all these decades now. Are you still as hungry, and is it still as easy to write, or is it more of a challenge, or is it just different? I think I write more than ever. That if you ask James, he would tell you that I'm always giving him. I absolutely am enthralled, and I love writing lyrics. I don't really have a desire to write anything else. I think it's such a concise art form, and I really do, I absolutely adore it, and I get so much inspiration still. Like I've never really read much Louise Gluck, and I've just become obsessed with her lately. And I don't say steal it; it just words and phrases just take you to a different universe. And you're inspired by just a really great selection of words and how they can say so much, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm a terrible reader of fiction. My wife reads loads of fiction. She thinks I'm, the poetry's the easy option, if you know what I mean. Really? Yes. But I struggle with fiction. But I still love poetry just because the economy of the words. They say so much. With so little. Yeah. So do you sit down and still use pen and paper, or is it just everywhere? Wherever you are, if you have an idea, do you just put it in your phone, or how does it work for Nicky YM? I'd say 90% of it is still a pen and paper. Feels good, right? It's just a gorge. I am a stationery freak like Stanley Kubrick. I will search out stationery shops for pads. Are you the one in the corner smelling the paper sheets? Yeah. I've got this huge collection of hotel stationery. Since like 30 years ago, I collected. Just steal him. I've collected it all from all the countries in the world. Come on, get him now. He's here in London. Listen, let's play some more. Well, this is not music per se, but it is music to the ears. Yeah. Anne Sexton's Said the Poet to the Analyst. Why this? And tell us a bit more about Anne. I think Sylvia Plath and Anne Sexton really soundtracked a period in my life, really, where I don't know, I felt really ill all the time. I just felt really sickly. And I'd be reading and listening to these two. They just seemed to mainline into the period of my life I was going through. I wasn't desperately ill or anything. It's just, when you just feel it off all the time. And the both of them, I think, represent different sides of a really powerful female voice. So the only way you can describe it. It's just, and this poem in particular, just this discussion on what words mean and how they're interpreted, and does it matter anyway, when they should. So it's always sort of stuck with me, really. Said the poet to the analyst. Nicky, you're a natural. And that was Shirley then, wasn't it? Yeah. And didn't somebody say to you as a Welsh takeover? I think I wanted to play The Doors, so I played The Doors and Shirley's version of Light My Fire, which I think is extraordinary, actually. The power of her voice on it, it's so controlled.
She is loving doing that song.
Yeah.
Like, she puts them on like a pair of black patent boots and stilettos, and she struts through that song.
She does. It's an amazing cover. We wrote a song for Shirley, the girl from Tiger Bay, and it's one of the real thrills of me and James of our recording career.
Did you probably get to hang out with
James did the electric
in
proms.
Monaco?
Yeah, no.
I'd love an invite if you're listening, Shirley.
He was hanging out with her in the Catholic Manor in Newport a few months ago, actually.
Really? As you do. Playing golf.
I think it was a charity thing, and James played Girl from Tiger Bay and had a chat with her. So she was on good form, actually. Apparently, she was on good form.
How is it being a DJ then? Is it something that you've thought about doing? I mean, is it going to be a permanent thing, a regular thing? I mean, you're sitting in for Iggy, as we just heard.
Well, I was just thrilled to be asked. It was just, it was like all things in life. It's much more difficult than you think because there's just so much music that you want to play, and you want to try and be balanced, which is not one of my strong points, in all honesty. But you've just got to be, there's so much music of like when you're, I don't know, 13 to 18, which is seared into your memory.
Yeah. Rush, any Rush in there?
There's Rush in there. Mm-hmm. There's Rush.
Alan Parsons Project, Doobie Brothers.
That's James texting me now.
Oh.
But you just got to be careful that you still love a lot of modern music and you don't forget it. That's all. Because it's so easy to refer to the past. I do it all the time. 1985 was such a pivotal year for me for music. From Felt with Primitive Painters or New Order with Love Vigilantes. There's so much music of that year so I've just got to be careful not to play it all.
Does Iggy phone you up and say, "Oi, what are you playing?" Or is he just handed over the reins?
He's just handed over. The first track I played was Iggy doing "Do Not Go Gentle."
Oh, nice.
So as a little tribute to two of my favourite things.
Oh, that's beautiful. Hey, listen, Nicky, is it true? 14 studio albums.
Yes.
With the Manic Street Preachers.
Yes.
When is the 15th coming out? And can you tell us what to expect?
Yeah, we're well into it, actually. It's coming along nicely. It's got like a working title, Critical Thinking at the moment. And it'll either be out end of this year or start of 2025. So there'll be some new music this year for definite. And it's really full of energy. And I don't know how we keep going back to the well, but once the three of us get together, it sounds really cliche, but there's still some kind of magic and excitement between the three of us.
And what do you do before you step onto stage? Do you still have the same kind of rituals, or has it changed up in any way? Like, are you now doing like Mick Jagger 45-minute workouts rather than 45 million whatever?
James actually warms up his voice now. I mean, his warm-up for decades was literally to scream.
Yeah.
That was it. I'm sure you remember.
I think Tim Burgess from the Charlatans does that to warm up his voice still. It's like, really not recommended.
No, he does actually make an effort now. And
yawning is good.
Oh, all right.
Did you know that?
I do a bit of stretching now because I know I'm pretty fragile to do jumping around like I do with a heavy bass.
Like yoga.
Kind of. Wire yoga, I call it.
I didn't know you're a Jones until today.
Yeah, yes.
You know, Mr. Jones.
Oh, yeah, I've been called wire since, I think, comprehensive school. I don't really know why, just that I was very tall and I had a lot of energy.
You're going to play, or we're going to play together now, some Cardigans. A beautiful track with the lyrics of Nina Persson, I imagine. Tell us from your perspective why we're playing this. Well,
I'm a huge fan of Nina, her voice and her words. I think she's incredibly underrated as a lyricist. There's so many albums that really, there's some kind of suppressed emotion that just flowers out into these fantastic words. And obviously we were really lucky that she sang on one of our biggest songs, You Love Alone Is Not Enough, and she sang with us live. And her voice is just, it's almost like a Chrissie Hynde thing. You think, how does she get that much power out of her phrasing? But she does, and they're a brilliant band, I think, and she's just a phenomenal singer.
Yeah, I love that vibrato at the end as well. The Cardigans, You're the Storm, from about 20 years ago. Nicky, thanks for bringing that. Talk about underrated songwriters, Chrissie Hynde as well.
Amazing.
As songwriters.
I'd love to do a duet with her.
Yes. Is it going to happen?
I just thought of it.
At 4 o'clock today, Iggy Pop, you're standing in for him. You're playing a camp.
I am.
That's another sort of project of Nina's.
Yeah, Love Has Left the Room. It's just, again, her voice is just transcendent on it.
You're going to work with her again, do you think, maybe?
I'd love to, but I think she's found a really kind of niche, because the Cardigans don't seem to do much anymore. She just seems to follow her own path.
Listen, tell us about the Lifeblood.
Yeah, Lifeblood's 20-year-old. It's the kind of the odd one of the Manic's family. You know, it's very crystalline and.
But the anniversary edition is coming out.
It is, yeah. It's coming out in a few weeks, and it's got loads of odd demos, and different versions, really radical different versions of the song. 1985, which was the first track. This version by James, which basically sounds like Oliver's Army, just totally different. So, it's always nice to do that. I'm the archivist of the band.
And the tour?
Yeah, the Suede tour has gone amazingly well. Not many tickets left at all, actually. So, and they are really just lovely chaps. We've toured Asia, America, Canada.
Co-headlining, just swapping over. That's always fun as well, isn't it?
It's really good. There's we haven't had a crossword, and they're really good at ironing as well. They all iron their own clothes.
They look like they would be good at ironing.
They're really smart boys.
Nicky, honestly, it's such a pleasure catching up with you. Last time we were in Glastonbury, I think, wasn't it? So maybe next June you're going?
Maybe. I think we're working, actually. I think we're playing on that day.
Well, enjoy your tour, the rest of the tour.
Thank you very much.
And enjoy your DJ work.
Thanks, Cerys. Pleasure.